please pay attention. I'm going to start off with Sam to start off with two separate topics. One, the Mojaloop releases, and then quickly transition to the Mojaloop platform quality and security. Sam, you ready to go?
Yes, thank you, Simeon. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Very early good morning, in fact, to some of you. Then good afternoon and evening to some of my fellow time zoners. So today, if anyone is in question as to what the theme is of this event and the overall uh, uh, agenda of this online events, you just need to look at the agenda. And the first sessions you'll see are releases, code quality, security, performance. So it talks about what this is. Thank you for Paula and Simeon for giving us this opportunity for us technical people to start off this event. Appreciate that. All right. Let me start sharing my screen. We'll do the usual today and then highlight the changes that were done in the past PI, what we call the program increment. It's not equivalent to a quarter, but kind of a third of the year, or in some cases, a quarter. So we talked about Mojaloop version 17 in the previous community event, the in-person community event. And building on that, it's time for some consolidation because the changes there were huge with version 17, where we had FX support for ISO 20022 messaging, performance improvements, lots of changes, and support in general for version 2 of the Mojaloop FSP interoperability API. So now in this PI, we had post-release activities, improved on a lot of documentation, improved the tooling, the quality, security, and the general maintenance. But we also had to upgrade some of our tooling and technologies. For example, the biggest upgrade has been node upgrade to version 22 from version 18. And we'll also look at the details of the other changes included that are coming with this version 17.10. So this is happening this week. We also have some other updates coming with it in backend dependencies, but also in the application Mojaloop code base as well. So we look at, we won't go into detail on several of the common slides that we have, but I'll highlight the changes. And if there is anything of interest or questions come up, we can focus on those. So the usual roadmap or the timeline for Mojaloop, won't go into detail on that. Maybe during the alternate events, we can go into that. But as we are in July 2025, we're looking at the Mojaloop 17.10. We have a release candidate that is passing initial tests, but we have to go through the release checklist, and this will be published towards the end of this week. We wanted to organize our releases around the program increment events as well, PI events. But if there are some enhancements we have in the pipeline to discuss the changes on cadence and around which we can plan the Mojaloop releases as well. So as you can see here, the updates included are Node.js upgrade, which is a big one, but there are also several not so glamorous updates. As I was saying, this is time for some consolidation. We looked at the changes that came in our last release, and then we enhanced or built on that. There are some security updates, changes to or upgrades to infrastructure as code. There are also lots of platform quality and security, which kind of go under the radar a lot of times. We were discussing provenance of Mojaloop artifacts for quite some time. That is now supported for Mojaloop Helm charts. There is a chance for us to improve on that by extending that to other artifacts in the future as well. And we've introduced the topic of software bill of materials for Mojaloop 2 PIs ago, 2 program increments ago. And after that, we've been building on that. And now we are in a good shape where we are not only publishing that for individual repositories, but we're also very explicitly adding that to a Mojaloop release along with the release notes, along with the license summary as well. So we'll look at that as we go into the detail. A quick overview: Mojaloop platform is not just the Mojaloop core, but the core is, of course, at the center of it. And as we are evolving, our focus is now moving on to the other outer or other services that are downstream to the core as well. So stabilizing our core gave us a chance to focus on other aspects such as deployment, finance portal, tightening the quality and security, and other aspects of Mojaloop platform as well. As you can see here, we have the testing tools, finance portal, monitoring support gateways, and infrastructure deployment options. So for Mojaloop version 17.10, on the core side, we have support for the usual use cases, nothing different here, but Node.js has been upgraded, and it's not a use case, just wanted to highlight the change there. But the usual use cases of P2P, request pay, bulk, FX into scheme are all supported, and the previous settlement models from settlement are also supported. There is a slide where we show each of the use cases or APIs. I'll add some notes regarding the changes that are happening in those spaces. So the Mojaloop IAC bundle that is available on the Mojaloop GitHub organization. These are public repositories. We're currently in the version 6 tags, and they have all the tooling that we talked about earlier, the gateways, tools for role-based access control, security for mutual TLS, JWS, and interledger protocol, have the finance portal, the tools or services for reporting, and we have control center or the control plane for CI/CD, deploying Mojaloop and maintaining them, monitoring support, and onboarding support as well. So not much to highlight here or changes, but you can see the foreign exchange and inter-scheme support has been introduced. This is also including work done in the PI26 and some consolidation work done in PI27. The ISO support is not here because it's a different API, but ISO 2222 messages, or there is support for ISO 2222 messaging in Mojaloop right now as well. Same, extending that, the endpoints are usually the same most of the time, except where changes need to be made to support FX and inter-scheme transfers. FX quotes and transfers we have highlighted here to show those are the ones that primarily were introduced and worked on. There's one endpoint, services endpoint here at the bottom, that is kind of new on the administration API, but otherwise the rest of them are unchanged, except that we've done some on Oracles to improve and fix a few things over there. A lot of work is happening on the settlements side of things, V2, but currently the Mojaloop releases by default are coming with V1 or V2, actually, specification V2. There is a V3 of the API, which is in the final stages. There are also a lot of features that are coming that are going to come with Tiger Beetle included as well, and this is planned for Mojaloop V18 or a future release. So I don't want to spend too much time on that, but as we discuss Mojaloop evolution and supporting Tiger Beetle in the Mojaloop core, we'll look at aspects of that, and I'm sure Michael and others will cover what's coming new in settlements in later sessions. And similarly, in the third-party API right now, Mojaloop releases come with version 1 supported out of the box, but Mojaloop PISP V2 of the API has been ready for quite some time. Thanks to the special interest group led by Paul Bicker there for that. But the implementation for that has not been done yet, or it's not ready. But we have a work stream there, and we have some of our community members and entities who are engaging in that and are getting started with implementing that. So in the near future, we'll have a V2 of this API as well, with lessons from version 1 and market inputs there as well. So this PI, the core team and community worked a lot on improving the documentation of Mojaloop. So far, the situation has been that the documents are there, but they have not been well organized. It was a bit difficult to locate or find what you're looking for. So one of the documents that we had as GitHub issues and in stories, but wasn't in our release, like in our docs pages, docs.mojaloop.io was the release process. So in the last 2 PIs, we worked on that, fixing that gap, and this is now published. And you're able to see my screen still. Yeah, there is in the docs.mojaloop.io technical section, the Mojaloop release process, what goes on in here is all discussed and published. So let me go back to my presentation. You see what is being shown? Okay. Apologies for that. So version 17.10 release candidate is currently going through that phase where we're iterating through the stages of deploying, testing, identifying issues if there are any, ensuring that we go through the release checklist and run all the tests and make sure we have a good 100% pass rate there before we publish. Our goal is to publish that this week, but we'll keep the community posted on the happenings there. Just a reference of the work done in the past two PIs. We had a version 15 a while ago, then we iterated over that 15.10, 15.20, and 16 was a significant update. It was a lot of performance improvements where we proved that Mojaloop can do 1,000 to 5,000 TPS. But then came V17, which is the most recent one in PI 26, version 17 with FX, ISO 22 support, and lots of platform quality and security updates, and of course, performance improvements as well. Where again, Mojaloop platform, we've proven like we had the work stream demonstrate and publish the results where we achieved the desired baselines for Mojaloop core and overall platform. Version 17.10 release candidate, which is the one that we are discussing now, which is the current release candidate. We have these updates. So we have a node upgrade to version 22 from 18. That is quite a significant update, but it is now complete for all the services included in the platform. But also there's a lot of work done on the platform quality and security side. It's a lot of security patches, work done on vulnerability management, software bill of materials. This was done not just by the core team, but we also had input from our adopters and implementers, such as the DRPP project and the SIs who are doing some work, along with independent community contributors as well, for example, in areas such as software bill of materials. So let me see if I can quickly go to the docs page. I won't take too much time here, but I want to show where it is located. So we have a security section, security and vulnerability section right now in the documentation provided, where we discuss several aspects of Mojaloop security and vulnerability management. This covers both sides of things where vulnerabilities arise in third-party dependencies or dependencies and packages that Mojaloop uses. But we also have a section covering how we address and deal with vulnerabilities in Mojaloop application code base itself, and also linking to our coordinated vulnerability disclosure and cybersecurity architecture. So we have some sections here. Please go through this, especially for our adopters, to ensure that this covers your standards and requirements. And if you find a gap or if you see anything missing, please reach out to the workstream or to one of us at the foundation. So you can see here how do we handle a possible vulnerability, referring to our CVD policy, vulnerability management processes in place, the tools that we use. You can see, for example, randomly want to pick tools used such as Dependabot, CodeQL, secret scanning, Sonar Cloud, we use software bill of materials, license checkers, and what is document covers. So let me go back to the presentation. Along with that, there is a DA issue raised recently for supporting a TLS configuration to the database as well, to MySQL, and support TLS connections to the database. And for this, MySQL had to be upgraded from MySQL, which we've been using so far, to MySQL 2. So that is another significant update that we won't see any noticeable change on the outside. But on the backend dependency side, this change is being considered and mostly added to our release candidate as well. So we are continuing further tests on it to ensure that we don't have any regressions and any issues are addressed before we make the official release 17.10. Cleaning up unused Helm charts. So far, we've only been disabling. So whenever a service or dependency is deprecated or unused, we are disabling it. For example, there are some services in Mojaloop itself that have been upgraded or that have been replaced by newer services, or which are no longer needed because the support for them is provided elsewhere. Those have not been removed from the Helm repo. So with this release, we wanted to do that cleanup as well, as we, as a theme for this PI on the core and releases has been consolidation platform quality and security, and some minor changes and upgrades. So those are now being cleaned up. So moving forward, or with version 17.10, only services that are part of and officially published as part of Mojaloop will be part of the Helm repo. Not that there was any significant issue earlier. They were there, but were disabled or inactive. Right now, we are addressing even that part of it as well. And then kind of, it's not official, but unofficially, documentation has been a big focus of this PI as well. And as you can see, me navigating through some of these docs, we also added documentation on release automation. So the releasing of Mojaloop involves a huge number of items. Our checklist has anywhere between 20 to 50 tasks, which might involve subtasks again, depending on whether we find any issues or not. But there was some work done in this by one of our contributors, Steven, a while ago, in automating those steps. So the automations is so comprehensive that when we give some references to the release, let me see if I can quickly show this. So this is where is it? There is this workflow, GitHub Actions, so which updates the charts. So we have about anywhere between 250 files that have to be updated, and even that is there's a lot of automation in place, because the script goes and checks all the latest releases of the services that are included in that are to be included in Mojaloop, gathers those using GitHub API calls, and then upgrades the files, updates the files with those release versions. And as the image versions or the release versions are upgraded, it also has to update the chart versions, generates the release notes, generates the change log. Of course, it also determines the release versions based on the inputs given, whether there are any breaking changes or not. And finally, after generating all this, it also commits internally and publishes them, generates the charts and deploys them on one of our internal dev environments as well, and runs the golden path tests. It means it also involves making some releases on GitHub repositories. For example, there is a repository called testing toolkit test cases, which is a collection of tests that are run on Mojaloop. And these are, there is a release made there, which is then pulled again by the script. But all this was very complicated. We don't see the complication, because I just run the release, create release PR, and it takes care of that, runs everything. But the upgrade we've done in this last PI was we've created document, thanks to Shashi for this, where we now have a clear documentation of all the scripting, what is automated, and how changes need to be made. If a new service is added, or if a service is removed, what kind of changes need to be made. So all this is now included in the release notes, in the Helm repo, so that it serves as reference for future contributors to make changes and improve on automation as well. So let me go back to my presentation. So I've covered documentation. We've not only improved on our release notes documentation. So we added a couple of new sections. For example, on the known issue side, we've provided workarounds and mitigations. We've included the different variations or configuration options that Mojaloop can be deployed with, how to enable them, what kind of tests to run for each with what kind of configuration. So all those are now included in release notes. Apart from that, we also saw the release process documentation, and now we've also improved on the release automation as well. Along with that, included in 17.10 release, we have merchant services related updates. There's a merchant service, merchant registry that are adjacent to Mojaloop, not part of the core, but they also can be deployed out of the box, disabled by default, but can be enabled by any adopter who wants those. Apart from that, we also have general maintenance and bug fixing done this PI. Without going into too much detail, I'll go to the diff here. For example, anyone interested, you can look at this and look at the changes that were made since Mojaloop version 70. I'll share the link in a Zoom chat as well. Again, feel free to interrupt me or Simeon if you have any question that needs urgent attention. But the link there can provide an overview of the changes included since Mojaloop version 17, and these will now be bundled and published with our Mojaloop version 17.10. I wanted to give a quick reference for those of you who are interested. I know that this we have a lot of technical minded people, and even for those who are product or community or engagement focused, I don't see why this wouldn't be helpful. The section of Mojaloop documentation. So if you go to the Helm repo, there is a documentation on different configuration options supported. For example, let's say we take ISO. So how do we support ISO mode for a switch during deploy time? So here are details on what kind of parameters or configuration options need to be enabled, what kind of options need to be enabled on the tests. So all the details are here, and these are documented. Coming back to the presentation, so you can see in the diff there are some bug fixes there. Let me see if okay. So that's what's included in this release. We'll cover a bit more on the roadmap, but I've referred to earlier as well. Lots of improvements happening in settlements area, and of course Mojaloop core as well, integrating Tiger Beetle into Mojaloop. So these are something that we are looking forward to in the future in Q3 and Q4 of this year. These are of course done in their own work streams, but in the core and releases, we absorb the changes, work with the work streams regarding the features that are coming. And whenever there is a feature release plan, which is of production quality, we would like to absorb them and make the next Mojaloop release. So I don't have a timeline on those, but these are some of the changes that are happening, improvements in settlements. Another area of focus starting this week and into the next PI would be deployment improvements. Helm deployment, for example, using Helm for deploying not just the Mojaloop core and backend dependencies, but others on top of that as well, such as finance portal, monitoring, and related aspects of the Mojaloop platform. So the Tiger Beetle integration part of the Mojaloop evolution workstream, we have, I think we'll hear from that later on. Whenever that is ready, we'll look at making another Mojaloop release as well. So that's in the pipeline. PISP version 2 implementation has started. We have a team who's looking at what's there in V1 and are getting started with the V2 of the implementation. And I think we'll hear more from that on that specific work stream slot as well. And there's another item we want to do as well, migrating of Helm charts. This is part of the deployment improvements as well, where right now we have a different repository for Helm charts of Mojaloop core and backend dependencies, but a different one for the Mojaloop finance portal. So there is a proposal to move those to the Mojaloop Helm charts as well. So there's a more streamlined approach to deploying those. This is kind of a snapshot of where we are from a release standpoint. So I'll take a pause there a bit. I think I've been talking for too long. Any questions? Let me check the chat to see if there are any questions. Not seeing anything. Okay, we'll continue. We'll take another pause as we move into the next section of platform quality and security as well. Ongoing activities. On Mojaloop core releases, we have the release candidate testing ongoing this week, and with the goal to publish it this week itself. If we don't find any regressions or issues, or if we are unable to fix them on time, the initial tests are passing, but we are yet to complete or conclude testing on all the scenarios part of the release checklist. We saw the vulnerability management related documentation. I have to thank our community contributors, Paul Baker, Oscar, and others who've been working with us on this to improve our documentation, but also address the vulnerabilities themselves as well. So we haven't done penetration testing on the Mojaloop OSS as such, because that's not the nature of it, but we do have inputs from our adopters and system integrators, deployers who have done it themselves. And these are now funneled into our platform quality and security workstream, which works through the cadence of the PIs. And we are supporting and actively sometimes taking up fixing of these vulnerabilities as well, following our standards. So during release time, we have a standard to ensure that every medium, high, critical vulnerabilities are fixed. And we have a clean release going forward. The nature of software, of course, as you know, is vulnerabilities keep coming up, and there are standards and guidance. There is guidance in place on how to address those. But at the release time, we like to have a clean release. So we have a, a sequence for upgrading as well. So previously this was also internal knowledge, but this is now published. The page that I'm showing, let me see if this is visible or not. Yeah, okay. So you are seeing the page. So you can see here, we want to make it easier for community contributors and future collaborators as well. There is an update sequence that is now provided because we have a lot of dependencies and services on how we can continue and ending up with our uh, core services such as central ledger, ALS, coding service, central settlement. And there is a few sequence. There's also a diagram provided to show like how the sequence works. So thanks to Juan for contributing to this. And this now helps us just go through the dependencies and all the upgrading all the repositories. We go back to close these tabs. So here is the release candidate repository that we are going to use to publish. It will not be the same, it will keep evolving. But anyone who's a bit adventurous and who wants to look at what's going on can take the dev release or the release candidate and start testing if you want to ensure there are no issues for your implementation. Along with that, we are also providing support for another work stream, which is the performance white paper. So our team has been supporting setting up and deploying and also running the tests, developing test scripts, monitoring and things like that. Yeah, we'll hear updates from that work stream on the progress there. Various testing testing of various scenarios, tooling is ongoing as well. And this will culminate in our release, and then we'll look into the next PI as well. Just give me one moment. I think we do have a question in the chat, so let me take a look. From Jerome, thanks for the question. MySQL Aurora in AWS for RDS. Yes, we did hear from at least 2 adopters who have used Aurora in AWS. Cool. Couple of enhancements have been proposed to Mojaloop Releases. There is one active DA issue as well, but I want to revisit the release guidance. Right now, we are structuring these releases around the community meetings themselves, whether online or in person. For example, MojoCon 28 now, and then 29 coming, and we had a release at the previous MojoCon as well, the in-person event. There's also discussion ongoing and a lot of activity behind the scenes that is happening regarding support. Support for Mojaloop is an active topic, and we heard a lot from the community, SIs, adopters, and others, fintechs as well, regarding how to deal with support for Mojaloop. We have taken your inputs in this regard, and I think something will come up from our go-to-market team and others soon regarding this, or even some, at least one of our foundation members. Apart from that, this is an activity in progress as well. Performance profiling of Mojaloop releases. We've started profiling Mojaloop version 17. In fact, I'm glad to hear that not just us, but there are SIs and community members who already done that. And some of you are already in the process of doing it. But we want to profile Mojaloop releases, and this is also related. There is some intersection between this one and the performance white paper workstream. Both have different goals, but on the releases side, we want to performance profile our releases in the future, even before they're released or during release time, and release a report of baselines as well. Another goal is to have closer integration with the downstream tooling such as Finance Portal, IAC, and test cases, improve on that, and several deployment enhancements as well. Now that we are quite comfortable with where the Mojaloop core is, not that it's not evolving, we have a huge change or a huge leap there coming as well in terms of evolution. But having said that, on the deployment side, I think is something we want to focus on in the coming PIs, so that it's easy to deploy, integrate, and test out and take advantage of all the releases and reduce the upgrade cycle, and focus on things such as fault tolerance, resiliency, performance, and reducing the resource footprint of Mojaloop. I want to continue working on our documentation upgrades. Done a lot of work, as I've shown. Please go through that. We appreciate your contributions there, especially our adopters and the SIs who are deploying for adopters. We want to work with you on improving that, improving the documentation to make sure it needs not just meets your needs, but also benefits other adopters as well. Quickly looking at what we have for PI 27, Mojaloop version 17.10, which is in decent shape right now. We'll follow with the post-release activities to ensure we deploy it, we develop, we deploy our sandboxes around that, the performance profile using this latest release and have ISC support for that, and also work on finance portal related enhancements for that. But we also want to start planning for whenever the next major release or the breaking change comes, for example, in terms of replacing Mojaloop core, at least, or let me say this, when we integrate Tiger Beetle with Mojaloop, whether it be version 18 or another minor release, 17x.y, 17.2.0 or 17.1.1, want to start planning based on the incoming changes, working with the product and the work streams as well. Want to continue tightening up and mitigating Mojaloop vulnerabilities. There are several tasks that we have in the pipeline with input from our community members regarding how to mitigate and minimize the vulnerabilities, and also how to react quickly. So we've taken a lot of measures. For example, we saw the documentation and guidance provided, but we also are looking at expanding that into having more secure channels of communication, so that we can release communication to adopters and trusted members of the community or adopters who need to know quickly regarding vulnerabilities and mitigation or workarounds mechanisms for those, but also the fixes whenever they are ready. These are some of the items in the pipeline. So we will continue on the vulnerability management on the platform quality and security side, while also improving on the quality side. So there are some details we'll go in the next part, but this is in the roadmap for the core and releases workstream. We'll also continue working with the performance white paper workstream to ensure we are able to run the tests from the test matrix, gather the observations, and give the data necessary for publishing that white paper. And we also want to continue deployment enhancements. I think I've discussed those.